Do you ever feel like you're working hard but getting nowhere? Like you're pouring energy into your goals, but something invisible keeps pulling you back? Not laziness, not lack of discipline, something quieter, something you can't quite name. That was me for years. And I thought success was about doing more hours, more hustle, more force. But I was wrong. Success wasn't hiding behind more effort. It was hiding behind three small shifts in how my brain was wired to work. Shifts no one taught me. Shifts that changed everything. For most of my life, I believed the story we're all told. Work harder, push through, grind until you make it. And I did. I showed up early. I stayed late. I said yes to everything. I filled my calendar, my mind, my life with noise disguised as productivity. But here's what no one tells you. Busy doesn't mean successful, and exhausted doesn't mean effective. I was moving, but I wasn't growing. I was working, but I wasn't winning. And deep down, I felt like I was failing at something I couldn't see. Like there was a version of success just out of reach, and no matter how fast I ran, I couldn't catch it. People around me seemed to glide. They had focus. They had clarity. They made things look easy. And I wondered, what do they know that I don't? The answer wasn't what I expected. It wasn't about working harder. It wasn't about talent or luck or some secret morning routine. It was about how their brains worked with them, not against them. And mine? Mine was running on outdated wiring, patterns I didn't choose, habits I never questioned, a rhythm that was out of sync with who I wanted to become. So I stopped trying to force success and started rebuilding the foundation. Not with motivation, not with discipline, but with three brain hacks that sound almost too simple to work. And yet, they rewired everything. In this video, I'm going to share those three hacks with you. But I need to be honest, this isn't about quick fixes or life-changing overnight transformations. Because your brain doesn't change in a day, it changes in moments. Small, repeated, intentional moments that compound into something you barely recognize as the old you. By the end of this video, you might realize it's not that you've been failing, it's that you've been fighting your own biology. And once you stop fighting and start aligning, success stops feeling like a war and starts feeling like a rhythm. Hack 1. Boredom before brilliance. I used to fill every gap, every waiting room, every commute, every moment before sleep. Podcasts, videos, articles, scrolling, always consuming, always learning. I thought I was being productive. I thought I was staying ahead. But here's what I didn't realize. I was suffocating my brain. See, I never gave my mind space to just exist, to wander, to connect dots I didn't even know were there. I was feeding it information nonstop, but never letting it digest. And creativity, insight, breakthrough ideas, they don't come from more input. They come from the silence between inputs. I was so afraid of wasting time that I was wasting my potential. Then I read something that stopped me cold. Your brain's default mode network, the part responsible for creativity, problem solving, and self-reflection, only activates when you're not focused on anything specific. When you're bored. Dr. Sandy Mann, a psychologist at the University of Central Lancashire, found that people who experienced boredom before a creative task significantly outperformed those who didn't. Boredom wasn't the enemy of productivity, it was the doorway. So I tried something that felt radical. I stopped filling the gaps. I let myself be bored, on purpose. I'd sit in the car before going inside. No music, no phone, just silence. I'd stare out the window on the train. I'd lie on the floor between tasks and do absolutely nothing. And at first, it felt unbearable. My brain screamed for stimulation. My hand reached for my phone like a reflex, but I stayed with it. And slowly, something started happening. Ideas showed up. Not forced, not searched for. They just arrived, like they'd been waiting for me to stop talking so they could speak. Connections I hadn't seen before suddenly became obvious. Problems I'd been stuck on for weeks dissolved in minutes. It wasn't magic, it was space. My brain finally had room to work. I started treating boredom like a tool, a few minutes of nothing before I sat down to write, a quiet walk with no destination before a big decision, a blank stare at the ceiling before sleep, and every time, my mind rewarded me with clarity I couldn't manufacture through effort. Here's the truth we've forgotten. Your brain isn't a machine that runs better the more you feed it. It's a garden, and gardens need rest. They need fallow seasons. They need space to regenerate. When you fill every moment, you're planting seeds on top of seeds, and nothing grows deep. But when you let the soil breathe, when you give your mind room to be empty, that's when the roots go down. That's when the fruit comes. So now, I protect my boredom like it's sacred. And the irony? The less I consume, the more I create. The less I do, the more I achieve. Because success isn't built in the noise, it's born in the silence. If your brain feels cluttered, scattered, stuck, maybe it doesn't need more input. Maybe it just needs permission to be still. Try it. 5 minutes. No phone, no task, no distraction, just you and the space between thoughts. And see what your mind does when you finally let it breathe. Hack 2. Delay before decision. I used to be fast. Someone would ask me a question and I'd answer immediately. An opportunity would come up and I'd say yes on the spot. A problem would appear and I'd jump to solve it. I thought speed was strength. I thought hesitation was weakness. But I was wrong. I was making decisions from reaction, not reflection. And most of those decisions, the ones I made in the heat of the moment, the ones that felt urgent, they weren't moving me forward. They were just keeping me busy. I'd agree to projects I didn't want. I'd start things I couldn't finish. I'd chase opportunities that looked good but felt wrong. And then I'd wonder why I was exhausted, scattered, and still not where I wanted to be. The truth? I wasn't failing because I made bad decisions. I was failing because I made decisions too fast. Then I learned something that changed the way I operate. Your brain has two systems. System 1, fast, automatic, emotional, reactive. System 2, slow, deliberate, logical, intentional. And here's the problem. Most of us live in System 1. Daniel Kahneman, the psychologist who won a Nobel Prize for this work, said it clearly. System 1 thinks it knows, but it's often wrong. And by the time System 2 catches up, the decision is already made. So I started doing something simple. I stopped deciding immediately. I built in a delay, not a long one, just enough to let my brain shift gears. Someone asks me a favor? Let me think about it and get back to you. An idea excites me? I'll sit with this for a day. A problem feels urgent? I'll revisit this in an hour. At first, it felt uncomfortable, like I was being slow, like I was missing out. But then I noticed something. The decisions I made after a delay were almost always better than the ones I made on impulse. I stopped saying yes to things that drained me. I stopped chasing shiny opportunities that didn't align. I stopped reacting to urgency and started responding to importance. And here's what's wild. People respected me more, not less. Because when I did say yes, they knew I meant it. When I committed, I followed through. My word became solid because my decisions were no longer scattered. There's a concept in Stoic philosophy called the pause. Marcus Aurelius wrote about it. Between stimulus and response, there's a space, and in that space lies your power. The power to choose, not react, choose. That's what the delay gives you. Space, not to overthink, not to overcomplicate, just to ask one question. Is this the move I want to make or the move I feel pressured to make? And most of the time, when you ask that question honestly, the answer is clear. Now, I don't make big decisions on the same day they're presented. I sleep on them, I walk with them, I let them settle. And what I've found is this: the right decisions don't fade with time. They get clearer. The wrong ones, they lose their urgency and reveal themselves as distractions. This hack isn't about being indecisive. It's about being intentional. Because success isn't built on how fast you move. It's built on how well you choose. And you can't choose well when your brain is still in fight or flight mode. So the next time something feels urgent, pause, take a breath, take a walk, take a night, and then decide. Because the decisions that change your life aren't made in the moment. They're made in the space you create between the moment and the response. Hack 3. Learn backward, not forward. For years, I tried to learn like everyone else. I'd start at the beginning, read the book cover to cover, take the course lesson by lesson, follow the plan step by step. I thought that's how knowledge worked: linear, orderly, progressive. But here's what kept happening. I'd get halfway through and lose momentum. I'd finish and forget everything. I'd learn a skill but never use it, because I was learning forward, toward some future version of success, instead of backward from the result I actually wanted. I was collecting knowledge, not building capability, and there's a massive difference. Then I stumbled onto something that flipped my brain. It's called backward design. It's used in education, in engineering, in high-performance training. And the idea is simple: start with the end and work backward. Instead of asking, what should I learn first? Ask, what do I need to be able to do? And then reverse engineer the path. Let me give you an example. I wanted to get better at writing. So instead of reading books about writing theory, I found a piece of writing I loved and asked, how did they do this? I broke it down, sentence by sentence, structure by structure. Then I tried to recreate it, not copy it, recreate the thinking behind it. And suddenly, I wasn't just learning about writing, I was learning how to write. Because I wasn't starting from theory, I was starting from result. This aligns with something called retrieval practice. Studies show that people who learn by working backward from a problem, rather than forward through content, retain information 50% better and apply it more effectively. Why? Because your brain doesn't store information in the order you consume it. It stores it based on how you use it. And when you start with the outcome, your brain knows why it's paying attention. It has context, it has purpose. Learning forward feels productive, but it's passive. Learning backward feels harder, but it's active. And active learning is the only kind that sticks. So I stopped consuming content aimlessly. I stopped taking courses just to take them. Instead, I started with the result I wanted and asked, what's the smallest piece of knowledge I need to get there? Want to build a business? Don't read 10 books on entrepreneurship. Find one successful business model you admire and dissect it. What did they do first? What did they skip? What mattered most? Want to learn a language? Don't start with grammar. Start with a conversation you want to have and learn the 20 words you'd need to have it. Want to get in shape? Don't research optimal workout splits. Find someone with the body you want and ask what they actually do every week. Then do that. Backward learning cuts through the noise. It removes everything that's interesting but irrelevant and leaves only what's essential. And here's the beautiful part. You see progress immediately because you're not waiting to finish learning. You're building the skill as you go. Now, I approach every goal this way. I start at the end. I ask, what does success look like here? And then I work backward until I find the first step. Not the logical first step, the most useful first step. And what I've learned is this: most people never succeed because they're stuck in the learning phase. They're waiting to feel ready. They're gathering information. They're preparing to prepare. But backward learning doesn't let you hide. It forces you to act. It forces you to build. And in that building, you discover what you actually needed to know, not what some curriculum told you to learn. So if you've been stuck in tutorial hell, if you've been learning but not growing, flip it. Start with what you want to create, to be, to achieve. And let that pull you backward through the knowledge you actually need. Because success doesn't come from knowing more. It comes from knowing what matters. And the fastest way to find that is to start at the finish line and walk back home, bringing it together. So here's what we've covered: 3 brain hacks that sound simple but shift everything. Boredom before brilliance. Stop filling every moment. Give your brain the space it's been begging for. Let the silence teach you what the noise has been drowning out. Delay before decision. Stop reacting. Start responding. Build in the pause between stimulus and choice, and watch how your clarity sharpens, how your path straightens. Learn backward, not forward. Stop consuming. Start creating. Begin with the result and let that pull you through the only knowledge that matters. These aren't hacks in the traditional sense. They're not shortcuts. They're realignments. Ways to work with your brain instead of against it. Ways to stop forcing and start flowing. And here's the truth no one tells you: massive success doesn't come from massive effort. It comes from small shifts, repeated consistently, that rewire how you see, how you choose, how you learn. You don't need to be smarter. You don't need more hours. You don't need a different brain. You just need to use the one you have the way it was designed to work. I know this because I lived the other way. I hustled without rhythm. I decided without space. I learned without purpose. And I stayed stuck, wondering why effort wasn't enough. But once I made these 3 shifts, something changed. Not overnight, not dramatically, but steadily, like a river carving stone, slowly, quietly, inevitably. My ideas got sharper, my decisions got clearer, my growth got real, and I stopped feeling like I was chasing success and started feeling like I was building it. One intentional moment at a time. If this video made something click for you, if you felt seen or challenged or reminded of something you already knew but forgot, maybe it's worth staying. This channel isn't about hacks. It's not about hustle. It's about remembering what it feels like to work with yourself instead of against yourself, to build success that doesn't burn you out, to grow in rhythm, not in chaos. So if that resonates, consider subscribing, not to follow me, but to keep following you, to keep asking the questions that matter, to keep choosing the path that feels true, not just the path that feels fast. And if even one of these hacks sparked something, try it. Not tomorrow, not when you're ready. Today, this week, right now. Pick one: boredom, delay, backward learning, just one, and see what your brain does when you finally stop fighting it and start listening. Because the version of you that feels aligned, clear, successful, they're not far away. They're just waiting for you to stop grinding and start building. One small shift at a time. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next one.